Hi friends, it's Deanna here today, and today I'm going to be sewing up this hoodie right here. This is the Lindsey hoodie and top. This pattern is super cute. It's a little color block number, which I love. It's got the option of a hood, or you could also do a regular neckband, a regular waistband. You could do a waistband, or you could just hem, and you can omit the pocket if you would just like it to be like a sweater instead of a hoodie. So go grab your pattern, get your fabric, and let's sew it up together. All right, let's get started. One of the things I always recommend when you're making a pattern like this pattern is that you want to go ahead and keep all your pieces together with their pattern piece, because there's markings. Well, this one doesn't have markings, but some of them have markings. There is a front and a back. There's just so many different things that it's best if you keep it together, so that way when you're actually sewing, you can see exactly what piece it is and you don't get confused. So I always try to keep all my pattern pieces together with their pattern piece, the pattern piece with the pieces I cut out. So that kind of helps get everything all situated. Okay, now if you're making the pocket, we're gonna get started with that. I've got my pocket piece here, and I've got my bands on my pocket piece. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold these bands wrong sides together, long way. And then I'm gonna grab my pocket piece and I'm gonna place them right sides at the edge. So raw edges touching here at the bottom. I mean, not the bottom, the sides. This is where your hands are gonna go in. So you want that touching. And we're gonna sew that up right there. I'm going to be using my serger to sew this up because this is a knit fabric, but you could use a stretch stitch on your sewing machine. That would work just well. All right, now that this is been sewn right here, we're gonna open it up, sewn right there. We're gonna open it up and steam it out. And then we're going to top stitch that seam. If you want your seam to be top stitched, I'm gonna steam it towards the body and top stitch it on the inside here at the body, but you can top stitch it on the inside. You could top stitch it on the part, on the tab, wherever you want to, wherever you feel more comfortable top stitching. I'm going to be using my cover stitch, but you can use a cover stitch. You can use zigzag stitch on your sewing machine, triple stitch, whatever you feel more comfortable with. So I'm going to top stitch right there. All right, now my pocket's been top stitched. It's looking good. We're going to grab this side here at the bottom of this, where we just stitched, and we're going to fold it in, that seam allowance. I'm going to do that on both sides. All right, now I'm going to grab my bottom front. Now the top and the bottom edge, the top is going to get sewn into the middle piece, and the bottom will sewn into either the waistband or hemmed if you're hemming. So you don't have to do anything about that. We're going to grab our pattern piece, and it's got the markings on here for where to put the pocket. And so you can use those markings, or really you could just fold your pattern piece in half and fold this pattern piece in half. When you fold them both in half, match up the middle area. And then this gets folded in. So we're gonna top stitch it on here on the sides. Now, when you go to top stitch it, you can, if you're doing a sewing machine or cover stitch, whatever, you want to start here at the top. And if you're doing a sewing machine, you want to back stitch here and go all the way down. So it's got it strengthened here at the top. I'm going to do my cover stitch. So I'm going to start here at the top and go all the way down on both sides. So that's top stitched on. And then you can go ahead and baste the top and the bottom on, because we're going to use that as one single piece. All right, now here comes my favorite part, my favorite part of the whole sewing process. I am obsessed with jigsaw puzzles and stuff like that. So I love putting things together, and I love doing color blocking because that's kind of what it all is. So we're going to look at my pattern pieces. We've got this bottom front, then we've got the middle front. Make sure that you've got the right one, middle front. And then we've got, this is the middle back here. And then we've got the the top front. So find the top front section. And you literally put them like in a row like this. Now, obviously you can do one at a time. I like to do everything at the same time. And you're gonna do the same for the sleeves. I'm gonna show you that in a minute. I like to do everything at the same times because I have clips. So I'm gonna show you how I do that. All right, so it's all separated with my pattern piece on it. So I know which one's the front and which one's the back. So here's my front. I'm gonna put that aside. This is the arm side, which is my arm, where my armpit's gonna go. So that's the top, and this is the bottom. So we're gonna grab that bottom and we're gonna place it right on top of that bottom piece. So the middle piece is going to get attached to the bottom piece. Right sides together. Now, I like to do things assembly style. So you could go ahead and go now to your sewing machine or your serger, whatever you're using, and sew this up, fold up and top stitch. You could do that now. But like I said, because I like to do everything at once, I'm going to fold this up, and I have clips, and these clips hold on tight for dear life. I'm going to flip this up, and this will be our next step, will be to grab our top bodice and place it right sides together to this middle bodice right here at this raw edge. And that will give you your front piece. Oh, that's going to be adorable. So now what I'm going to do, because I like to assemble everything together, I'm going to do the same thing for the back section. So you're not going to have a pocket, but you're going to have a bottom, middle, and top for the back. So I'll do that. And then I'm going to do the same for the sleeve. And I'll show you that in a minute. Now for the sleeve, I've got two of them because I've got two sleeves. Here's my bottom. Here's my middle. Here's my top. And I made sure I marked those backs so I know which one's the back and which one's the front of the sleeve. All right, so now we're gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna grab the middle and face it on the right side, right sides together here at the top of the bottom. Then I'm gonna grab the top and place it right on top of the middle. And that will be our sleeve. I find this so satisfying. I don't know why. Let's do the same for the other sleeve. And then I'm head over and sew them all up. And then I'm gonna go to my cover stitch and top stitch the lines for a more finished look. All right, my puzzle is coming together. Here's my front piece. Here's my back. Well, this is my sleeve. Here's my two sleeves. No, that's a sleeve. This is my back piece right here. And so the next step we're going to do is we're going to face them right sides together. You know what? Next step I'm going to do is, do you see this little waviness here? Usually that is because when you're sewing the fabric, knit fabric, it tends to stretch a little bit. So I'm going to go get my iron and we're going to steam that and you're going to see how good it looks. I'm telling you, do not sleep on this step, the steaming step, because it makes a big, big difference. And it's easier. My iron is not all the way hot yet. It's easier to do it before you sew it together than it is after. I mean, obviously you can do it after, but it's easier to do it as you go. Look, already, even though my iron is not very hot, it's looking, that waviness is going away. Okay, see it right there? So much better. I'm gonna do it to all of them. All right, now we're gonna place our bodices right sides together. I'm gonna place my back bodice here on my mat, right side up, and then I'm gonna grab my front bodice and place it right side down on top of it. Match up the shoulder seams first, right sides together, and then my side seams. Make sure to match up those seams first here where they meet up so they're nice and even here. and then match up to the top and to the bottom. All right, since I like to do everything at the same time, I'm also going to go ahead and grab my sleeve and prep those by facing them right sides together at the outer seam and sewing it together. This is going to be an inset sleeve, what that means is that we're going to sew a sleeve together and our bodice together first, and then we're going to fit our sleeve into the arm area on our bodice and sew it on there, right sides together. So we'll do that after. All right, now you can go sew all this up. I like to continue prepping, so that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to prep my hood, my waistband, and my armbands right now so that they're ready to go. When I sew it all together, I can just piece it all together and be done. So I'm going to grab my cuffs and fold them right sides together at the side edge. So if you don't really know which one the side edge is, you can grab your pattern piece and it's going to be the raw edge. It's longer on this cuff than the top and bottom. Okay, so sew those up. I'm going to also prep my hoods, liner and outer. I'm going to grab my liners. Actually, I think this is going to be my outer, the gray. And I'm going to match them right sides together. And I'm going to sew the crown all the way to the back of the neck. And we're going to do that with the liner as well. Now you can obviously take this one step at a time and go work on it, pause it, go work on it, pause it, go work on it. I have clips. Clips are easy to just clip everything together, take it over to the sewing machine and sew it all at the same time instead of going back and forth, back and forth. So that is the reason why I do everything at the same time. Now, let me know in the comments below how you like to sew. Do you take it one step at a time? Do you do them all at the same time? Or what do you do? All right, so there's the hoods. They're prepped. Now for the waistband, we're going to fold it. You can fold it hot dog style and give it a memory press first. It is up to you. My iron is already turned off again. So I'm just going to go ahead and sew here at the short raw edge to prep it. And then I'll fold it later. It's easier when you do the memory fold first to fold it when you're going to go sew it on, but I'm stubborn. So let's go do this. I'm going to go sew all that and then we're going to come back, put it all together and we'll be done. Alrighty, we got our bodice put together. Here's our bodice. We've got our hood, our waistband, our sleeves, our other hood. We're going to put that aside. We're going to start with our sleeves. I'm going to turn my sleeves right side out. My bodice is still inside out because I'm going to fit my sleeve into my bodice. Before I fit my sleeve into my bodice though, if you want to go ahead and go to your cuffs, you can do those first, you can do those last. It really is up to you, but I'm going to show you how to do them. And I want to do them first because I want to put them on and then stick them in there and then sew that on. I'm going to be doing everything at the same time like I did the other pieces. So that's the reason why. We're going to start by going to the outer seam and going to the inseam and clicking a little notch. I like to do a little notch so I can mark where my half is of my cuff. I'm going to grab my actual cuff and fold it wrong sides together. And here's the one edge. And then we're going to go to the outer edge. And I'm going to mark that as well, just like I did my sleeve. So then I can go ahead and fit in. Now in the picture, in the book, in the manual, the instructions, you have the sleeve inside out and it's fitting it in. I'm just putting it over. It's the same thing. It's just we're matching it right sides together. So I'm coming from the outside, but you could also come from the inside. And here is that seam on the side. So then when I go to sew it, I'm going to stretch that cuff to fit my sleeve like so. And then I'm going to be sewing that on. So you can like stretch it now and clip it if you want. My French terry doesn't have as much stretch for the cuff as I thought it did. So that's why it's a little tight, but hopefully you have ribbing or something that has more stretch. I think it's still going to be okay because there's still stretch. It's just not as much stretch as I probably should have had. I'm gonna do the same with the other sleeve. All right, so the cuffs are prepped. So now when I put that inset sleeve, the cuff, I'll be sewing the sleeve, I'll be sewing the cuffs, and then I'll work on the hood and the waistband. All right, now to inset the sleeve, I have my marks on my sleeve here for the back, and then I'll have the marks for the top as well. If you don't have the marks, you want to make sure that you mark it so that you know exactly where the top is. This is the back right here, which means that this, you see how this is the front, the lower part, we're gonna fit this in, and the back has to match with the back. So this one goes on this side. So I'll show you in a minute. As I fit it in, we're gonna match up the top notch where the half is of the sleeve here at the top with that seam. We're gonna match the bottom seam here where the outer seam on your sweater. Make sure that all these lines are matching here, the color blocking. And then you see how here is the two little bumps towards the back. This is the back of the hoodie, and that should match. So we're gonna do that for both sleeves. All right, so now you're gonna grab your hoods. You're gonna turn one right side out. It doesn't matter which one, because you're gonna just fit it right into it and match up the top seam where the crown is and go down the front of the face, sewing them right sides together. So it doesn't matter which one's the outer or the liner, because once you're done sewing, you're gonna flip them around before you attach them, and that's when it will matter, when you're attaching it to the actual bodice. So that's how you prep the hood. You're gonna sew this outer seam. This is the top seam. This is the hood. The hood looks like this. This is the head of the hood. The head of the hood. Here's the front where the face goes. And this is the bottom part. This is what's gonna be attached to the neckline. Now, if you want to move on to the next step, you can. You don't have to. You can actually go do all that, come back, and do the waistband. But let me show you how the waistband is gonna be done. I'm just trimming all this extra. Okay, so we've got the bottom hem here, and we already have the two side seams. I'm gonna find the front and the back by folding it, matching up the two side seams, going to the back, and going to the front. Now again, you don't have to do this step at the same time. I just like to get everything done at the same time, so that's why I do it. You can come back, because we're gonna have to do the hood as well, so we can come back and do this at the same time you do the hood, but I'm just, you know, going for it. We're gonna fold the waistband wrong sides together. Here's the back seam, and we're gonna go from the front, from the back seam all the way to the front, and I'm gonna mark that. Then I'm gonna match up the front and the back, and I'm gonna go to the sides. And now I can turn my bodice right side out, or I can go ahead and attach it from the inside, because all I'm doing is matching it right sides together. So the right side of the band with the right side of the bodice, matching those quarter points. And as you sew, you're going to stretch and make sure that those match up. The bodice and the band match up all the way around. Now, you could go ahead and prep the neckline, but you gotta sew this first and then come back and overlap the hood by an inch right here and then attach. So we'll come back and do that. Let's go ahead and sew all these pieces together. Then we'll attach the hood and we'll be done. This is basically done and it's looking really good. Again, for the band here's a little bit of wobbly. All you got to do is go in and steam that down just like we did in each piece, and that makes it so much better. Oh my gosh, I am loving how this is gonna look. Now for the hood, since the main part is gray, I'm going to go with the outer being gray. So I'm going to grab the hood and turn it right side out. And we're going to do, the lining is going to be the polka dots and the outer is going to be the gray. So we're going to fold this front area and we're going to overlap it by 1 inch. You probably should go ahead and steam this first. Let me go get my iron and actually steam all this first. I actually, when I'm steaming my hoods, I like to leave like a tiny bit of the under edge poking out like this. So I like to steam with my seam going towards the inside. So that way when I flip it over, just that little bit of seam is what's poking out here seam allowance is what's poking out here on the other side. So it gives it like a little bit of a statement. I kind of like that. And sometimes I'll top stitch on the inside of the hood, or I mean right here on this side of the hood, but I don't think I'm going to top stitch this time. I think I'm just gonna leave it. And the reason being that I don't think I'm gonna top stitch is because I have white thread and I don't want it to be, well, I don't know, I top stitch white other places too. I'm just being lazy. Anyway, I do like to have a little bit of the contrast coming through, and usually for hoods I like to use like a different color, so like just the contrast is like a piping. It almost looks like piping on there. Look at how much better that looks now that it's steamed. I'll go ahead and steam this middle section since it's all wrinkled anyway. That way when I try it on, you can see how cute it all looks. I'm telling you, don't sleep on steaming. That's literally helps so much. All right, so now I've got my neck area and I'm going to quarter it by grabbing those 2 side seams and going to the front and then to the back. Now the shoulder seams are not the quarter, so you got to match up the front and back now and go to the sides. It's about, for me, it's about a little bit over 1/2 inch farther away, but some will be farther, some will be closer, so you want to make sure that you find that. Okay, so now that's marked. We're going to grab our hood. Like I said, we're going to overlap by 1 inch. You can go to your sewing machine and base that down. You grab a ruler here, hold on, and you're overlapping 1 inch. So I'm coming over on top of that and measure 1 inch. So 1 inch from this seam to this seam. See that side, the overlap? Actually, that measures 1 inch. The reason why you want to baste is so that this doesn't come open as you're trying to sew it. And then once you've got that, you're going to match it up, and this is my front half here and my back half here. So we're going to match up the back and the front and mark the quarters. So here's 1/2 and here's the other. So then now, once that's ready, we can go ahead and match up our bodice. I'm going to turn my bodice inside out though to do that. Okay, make sure you know the back is the higher area, the front is the lower. So we're going to fit this hood in there, right sides together, and we're going to match up the back with that back seam. Then the side where I marked my notch at the same spot, and the other side, and then the front right in between that, right in the middle, is where this middle is going to go. Make sure when you're sewing it on that you're catching all 4 layers. That's why basting is a really good idea, and I'm just a stubborn person that just pins. Okay, so now we're going to go all the way around and sew that closed, and we'll be done, and I'm going to show you what it looks like. All right, friends, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you like how this hoodie turned out. I love it. I think it turned out super, super cute. I am going to be making a shirt version next with the regular neckband and just hems. I think it's going to be adorable. I loved putting it together because like I said earlier, I love making puzzles, and so this is like a little puzzle piece before you even sew it together. Let me know what you think below. Do you sew everything just like I did, like assembly style, or do you like to take it one at a time? What's your favorite way of sewing? And let me also know what version you're going to be sewing up first for this pattern. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please comment, like, share, subscribe if you haven't so you never miss any of our tutorials. And I can't wait to see what you make. Come share with us on our Facebook page so we can all see it and love it and let you know how awesome you did. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you all next time.